Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Fernandez and I run the Enneagram workshop. And we're in the middle of a series on defense mechanisms, how they show up in our inner work, how we might navigate around them, and some questions that you can ask yourself in order to start digging into them. If you haven't already watched the intro that I did in the type 1 video, I encourage you to head back and watch the just first couple minutes of that video because it kind of gives you some insight into what I'm even talking about when it comes to defense mechanisms, how I work with them, and the approach that we're going to take in each of these individual videos. So go ahead and head back and do that. But we're going to dive straight into type 3 and talk about the defense mechanism for type 3, which is identification. And as someone who leads with type 3, this comes up for me all the time. There is this way that we as threes can perceive others want us to show up, want us to behave, want us to perform as. And we're pleasers, so we want to do that. We want to show up in that way, have all the things together, deliver all the deliverables that we have promised and more. But here is the question that I have for you, type 3s. Is your desire to be a role model or whatever that identification, whatever that ideal sort of persona that you have is that desire pushing you into action before you have felt, explored, and allowed yourself to be with what is true? Because as type 3s, we can cling on to that image, that identification. And in order to do that fully, I kind of have to ignore what is true. What am I actually feeling about this? What do I actually want? How do I actually want to show up? And similarly, what we were speaking about with type 2s tends to be this narrative for 3s that it's not safe for you to know what you want. It is safer and better for you if you just push that aside and orient toward what you know others want from you and become that. That is what has kept you safe, and that is what has felt safe for most of your life. And oftentimes what is required for type 3s to actually know what they are feeling and what is coming up in this moment is to slow down. One of my least favorite things to do. But as 3s slow down and sink into the body and into the heart, and oftentimes what is covering up the desires of the heart is the grief in the heart. Maybe one day we'll talk about grief and how each type approaches grief or avoids grief, I should say. Today is not that day, but our ability to be present to and work through our grief is paramount to us being able to be present to our desires. Our desires and knowing what we desire is a gift that lies buried beneath our grief. So until I can face the sadness of what it has been like to abandon myself all of my life in order to become what others wanted me to become, I have to wade through that grief before I am allowed to know and be present to what I actually want. What lights me up from the inside out. 3s are only seeking the spotlight when they are not present to and embodying their inner shine, their inner light, because that light has been covered up by years of putting on the masks, putting on the disguises, putting on all of the layers of who we feel we have to be. When those layers start to come off, that inner shine is just, and we don't need to seek the spotlight. We are the spotlight. We are the one that glows from within. That requires slowing down, turning in to the mess, and letting it slowly melt away until we find what we truly want. Another question that I would love to ask threes when it comes to this defense mechanism: how is your pushing, striving, hustling, gotta succeed energy impacting your approach to inner work? I know for me, you do your own inquiry. We are not the same person, but I know for me, it has made me rush and run through my inner work because I need to catch up. I need to fix myself. I need to heal. I need to find all the places where I'm not good enough and figure out the plan to get me there. And one of the favorite things that my spiritual teacher has reminded me over and over again: we're not in a rush. There's no train to catch. There's no train to catch. Where are you running to? Why are you running? What's the hurry? And when she asks me that and I take a deep breath, I realize I don't need to run I don't need to run for the spotlight. I don't need to run toward this identification, this ideal person that I feel like I need to embody and I need to be. And if I could only navigate this way and say it this way and be this kind of person, then I would be okay. That's identification. What if you do your work as an organic and authentic expression of who you are, which is an ever-changing, ever-expanding, ever-transforming human soul that is learning and growing every single day, whether I am rushing or not. There's no train to catch. So rather than running down that platform, trying to chase down that train, I can sit in a field and let myself bloom and wither and die and spring up again, and bloom and wither and die and spring up again. And as type threes, we often just want to be in the blooming stage all the time. I just want to be the beautiful flower all the time. I don't want to wither. I don't want to die. I don't want to be in those early stages where I'm just a little baby sprout and there's nothing to show. I want to catch that train. But what if that is just my defense mechanism and it's keeping me from the true liberation and inner work that I really, really long for? It's keeping me from knowing myself as that shining being who doesn't need the spotlight, right? So this is what I invite you to consider if you are a type 3 working with this defense mechanism. And as I've said in the other videos, I love to work with type 3s. I love to work with all the types, but I love to work with type 3s who are trying to uncover who they truly are and what they truly long for. And oftentimes we get stuck in that grief. We get stuck weeding through those layers that are wrapped around that deepest desire. And this can cause friction, especially if you are a leader, if you have eyes on you, if you are carrying a team, if you are carrying a family, if you are carrying a corporation. Where do you have the space to fall apart? Where do you have the space to rediscover who you are in a way that still supports your nervous system so you can continue to show up for the people around you, while also beginning to turn towards yourself and no longer needing to self-abandon in order to become what you think they want you to be? It's a tricky space to be for type 3s, to begin to do our inner work while still keeping up all of the things that we need to attend to. I invite you to reach out to me if this is something that you are trying to navigate. My info is in the details beneath this video. It's a huge work to be done. And as a type 3, I understand it. And I love helping others navigate through it in a way that is effective and also compassionate. All right, we'll get into type 4 in the next video. Thanks for watching.